Chapter 8. Wilfred was munching away on some hot dogs after finally having some peace from Rolf. What he didn't know was the trouble he was in for running away. Hello? Wilfred! The quietness was over. Wilfred peered through the bushes and saw his master whacking a shoe against his hand. Wilfred's eyes widened. That was it. He had enough beatings. Rolf was being too hard on the way he made him come all this way out here. The pig burst out from the bushes. Before he could defend himself, the pig had pinned him to the ground. Rolf fought back as best he could, but the instant he did, the whole pile of traveling equipment came crashing down on him. Wilfred set off once more as Rolf crawled out of the wreckage, but with a device stuck to his head. Wilfred! A befuddled Rolf asked. This thing must come. Whatever was on his head wouldn't come off, and the poor son of a shepherd was forced to wander the world in a sea of darkness. Ed was clinging for dear life over the edge of a waterfall, and by clinging, it meant that his hat was caught in the crack of a rock, and Ed was doing everything to keep it on. He was so tired of his friends taking advantage of him like this. Yes, he knew he was naive, but that didn't give them the right to fool around with him like that. This is why he distanced himself last year. When he was with Ed and Eddy, he was something to laugh at by the other kids. Now he was starting to think they were right. Ed's heart began pounding when he felt his hands slipping. Assistance, please! Help! Where were they? At this point, he didn't care if one of the kids came along. Ed and Eddy were probably still laughing at the events that just happened. He noticed the forest trees rumble around until he saw two figures horsing around emerge. They weren't paying attention. Ed made an aim and threw his shoe at Eddy. Maybe that would straighten out his brain. Get me down from here! He shouted. Hi, Double D! Ed called out. Hey, Sockhead! Can you see my bro's place from here? Was he serious? That's the first thing he asks when he sees his friend dangle over a waterfall. No! Now get me down! He screamed. You heard him, Lumpy. Hit him with something big. Eddy should have been more specific to Ed, because he was shot into the air. Eddy flew into Ed, knocked his hat loose from the rock, and went falling down the waterfall, creating an immense splash. Gold! Ed shrieked. He looked up to see his friends emerge from the water, but hooked to one another in the strangest way possible. Fancy trick, Eddy! How did you learn to do that? Ed asked, when he saw the part of Eddy's lip was stuck to the gap of Ed's teeth. A smile grew on Eddy's face. My big bro showed me. Do tell, Ed said excitedly. Yep, my bro's a whiz at harpoon whales, Eddy said as he released his lip out of Ed's gap. He is? Ed spoke. Your brother is a whaler? My mom's got 50 pounds of blubber in the freezer as we speak, Eddy continued. The one thing his brother made him good at, lying. He knew he was taking this too far, but anything to make his brother seem like the most amazing person. And he's got a peg leg too, but that's what you get for wrestling horses. Eddy, if your brother is a whaler, then he must reside by the sea, Ed said to him, sounding as if he was close to losing it. How do we find it, Double D? Ed asked. A smile grew on Ed's face. Even though they drove him insane, there was still interest in learning. It's quite simple, Ed, he said, walking toward the stream. You see, this stream is a veritable highway that will lead us straight to it. We merely need to float upon the current and it'll carry us to the opening and Eddy's brother's retreat. Eddy noticed he was twiddling his fingers, but changed into a smile when Ed turned and looked at him. Why did he have to be so smart? What if they did find their brother? Was he going to be the same person he was from 8 years ago? You'll do fine without me, Eddy. Remember, the only way to get it right is to get it wrong. That was the night he left. He gave him his jar he used to scam people, knowing it would be in safe hands. He gave him advice, sent letters, and passed down scams. Eddy knew that they just needed to find their brother. He had to find out if he really was that caring person, and not the one who hurt him in his imagination.